I was like, she beat me to it.
Oh, it's no, I'm always, I don't know what it is, but I'm like super nervous about IG Live. I'm always like, is there things spinning yet? Is it spinning? Is it spinning? Is it spinning? Oh, it's not spinning yet. Oh, it is. Oh, it isn't. Like, yeah, so it's not you. I'm just neurotic when it comes to IG Live. I don't know why.
I am too, because I'm like, what if they're not, I've had it where they're not on or they get confused, and I'm like, oh no, we're here, let me request, let's add you in, and all the fun things. Yes, Lila's in the background. I had to like switch things up, but there she is back there talking away in the background. Hey, Lila. I'm like, half the time people just tune in, I feel like, to see Lila, but that's okay. I'm so excited you're joining us today, and I'm very excited about the topic that you're going to be sharing about with everyone. So in case, I will formally introduce you now, I guess, before we hop on in. But if you're watching live or watching the replay, this is my fabulous guest, Amy Lee. She is a dream design coach and mindset expert who works predominantly with high-achieving spiritual entrepreneurs. Through her signature programs and coaching, she has assisted in the transformation of thousands of business owners from anxious and unaware to empowered and abundant. I am so excited to have you, Amy Lee, because what you talk about and what you teach is so unique, so fabulous, and obviously very life-changing. So I will let you introduce yourself to everyone and kind of tell us how you got into what you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I do that, I'm going to move this up onto something because I feel like I'm looking like down a flight of stairs, as Gabby would say, right? Yep. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Amy Lee Westervelt. I am the Dream Design Coach, and I totally own the of that, especially as of today. One of my business partners messaged me and he's like, when you Google Dream Design Coach, you're the #1 thing on Google. I was like, well, yeah, I invented it, so that makes sense. So I'm totally going with the Dream Design Coach. And what I help people with is I help them figure out what they truly desire, because a lot of people have this misconception that the reason why they don't have what they want is because they don't have the money, they don't have the time, they're not in the right place at the right time, you know, they're not rich and famous. And the answer is actually that they don't know what they want, because I've found in my work, whenever I get someone to really hone in on what they truly desire and what they really want, magically they just start making it happen. It's crazy. It's like all of us, oh, that's what I want. And then all of a sudden they're creating that in their lives. So dream design is about taking it's not instead of manifestation, it's that step that everyone forgot before manifestation. It's really tapping into our true desires and what we actually align with, because if you're manifesting things that aren't in alignment with what you really want, you're going to secretly self-sabotage those things. You're not going to have the drive that you would have if it was something that was really important to you. So I always like to give the example of our children, right? Like, never want to think of anything horrible happening to our children. But if heaven forbid they were in peril and somebody was like, you need to figure out how to make $10,000 before tomorrow, or ... we'd be knocking on doors, we'd be collecting cans, we'd be writing, you know, letters, we'd be doing all of these different things in order to make those things happen. Hi, Vanessa. And so we know that there is something inside of us that totally will elicit a response of the drive to end all drives. So we know that that exists. We have to be able to connect that to the things that we truly desire, and then it's game over.
Which I didn't know about dream design when this happened, but I think I have a perfect example from my own life. And if anyone who's following or watching knows my story, like, part of the reason I started my business was to basically be able to stay at home with my daughter, and because I needed to find a way to financially cover all the legal bills going on with our custody situation. And everyone told me, like, you shouldn't bother, it's not worth fighting for, it's, you know, but I was like so dead set in my heart. I'm like, this is what I need to do. I need to fight him on this, like, because he was abusive and all those things. And I was like, I don't care what the status quo is. But because I put my heart and my mind into it, I started making like $10,000 to cover all the legal bills. And I started charging like a lawyer, because I had to cover legal costs. Like it was not an option. It was either that or roll over. So I think that is a very tangible example to what Amy Lee is talking about before I knew about what she taught specifically. And I love that you're claiming the design coach because you totally invented it and it's amazing. And I can't wait for everyone to learn a little bit more of. So you're talking about that step that everyone kind of forgets in their before the manifestation. So how do you kind of tap into it, or how do you help people find that clarity? Because I think some people aren't really sure what they want, or they talk about, this is what I want to do. Sorry, my dog's in the background. This is what I want to do, but it's not really what they want. It's like what society told them that they wanted to do. Hold on. While you share, I'm going to grab the.
No worries. Yeah, so it all has to do with really tapping into what you truly desire. And for that, I have invented something called the Dream Design Blueprint. So the Dream Design Blueprint is a way of breaking down our desires into pieces, into steps, so that it's not as overwhelming to do the dream design work. So the first part of that is to think about what is the feeling that I'm trying to create, right? Like if you think about anything you've ever wanted, it really boils down to a feeling, right? So if you think about like with your custody battle, let's use that as an example. It boils down to feeling safe, feeling protected, feeling like your child was going to be okay, and so on and so forth, right? So it's not about the outcome so much as it's about the way the outcome makes you feel. So the first step in dream design is to figure out what are the feelings that you want to create. And then once you've got the feelings done, then the next thing is to think about what are the thoughts and affirmations that I'm going to think when this feeling is real, right? So in the event that, you get your custody and all that stuff happens, what are the thoughts and affirmations you're going to have? I feel so safe. This is amazing. I am so grateful that this worked out the way that we wanted it to. I am so lucky, blah, blah, blah. And so those are the thoughts. And then the last part is the tangible outcomes. What will be the evidence that this actually happened? Like how will I know? How would an alien know? If an alien dropped down in my front yard, how would it know? No, she really did get this thing. She really does have these feelings. What will be those tangible evidences? And so then I have custody, or, things went my way, or I got, a judgment or whatever. And so how do you take those three pieces and put them together? That is the dream, right? So that's and the other thing too, is that dreaming and the dream are very different, because society loves to sell us the dream, right? The dream house, the dream car. This is your dream life, your dream vacation. But it makes it a product. What we have as a society have forgotten how to do is the actual dreaming. It's a verb, right? Dream is a verb. And it's part of using that divine feminine part of us in order to, in conjunction with the divine masculine, which in the case of dream design, the divine masculine comes from the universe, God, source, higher power. So you've got us who's like, hey, baby, can you get me blah, blah, blah? And the universe goes, you betcha. And it runs off and grabs whatever. But if you're like, hey, so, have you ever gone to your husband and been like, so I'm hungry. Okay, well, what do you want? I don't know. And what happens? He stands there and waits until you tell him what you want, or he gets you something and you're like, especially when you're pregnant. Oh my God, when you're pregnant, forget about it. And he's like, hey, yeah, I didn't know what you wanted, so I got you fish sticks. And you're like, right?
Choking, yeah.
Yeah, but if you say like, hey babe, I really want like cheesecake and like a burger with like extra pickles, like, then all of a sudden he's like, yep, done, go. And as a man, right, like most of the time, I'm sure some men are gonna be like, not me, hey Missy. Some men, right, like most men are gonna be like, oh sweet, I get the opportunity to bring something to her. Like, this is what their love language is. With a woman is like, yes, I get to provide for you. So the universe is always looking to provide for you. But if you don't tell it what the hell you want, it's going to stand there going, all right, well, just let me know when you know what you want. I'm going to go back to playing video games, right? It's the exact same relationship. And we laugh, but it's true.
I love that analogy. That is perfect. Yeah, because and some people, it's so hard for them to even get that clarity on their own because they seriously are like, what the heck? What the heck do I even want? What the heck do I, how do, like, or they're just like, I know what I want, I just don't have the roadmap. Whereas, like, that's kind of where I feel like I work with people once they have that. I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, let's make it happen because they just don't know the tech side of it. But they sometimes are like, I don't know. And I'm like, I can't help you until you tell me what you want. Like, I can give you a ton of ideas, but if it's not going to support you and your lifestyle and the way you want to live, then like we're chasing ourselves in a circle.
And it's so funny that you say that, Emma, because I'll be real with you for a minute. Like when I was figuring out dream design and really starting to like market myself, I had this block where I felt like what I did was kind of like the caricature at the fair, you know, like when you go get that picture of you with the giant head and the tiny body, like, why would
Yeah.
anybody really need this? Like, there's so many other things. Like, Michelle will teach you how to make money, Emma will teach you how to organize your systems. Like, but now, like, and one of my friends who's actually a business coach was like, Amy Lee, like, they need you before they come see any of us. And I never really
Yeah.
understood that. So I went from being like the coach that's nice to hire, which now I call myself the coach you need to hire before you pee in the morning.
I love that.
But it's true, because if you don't know what you want and you're not tapped into it, you're going to go spend a boatload of money on a website or on, you know, automations or on all these other things. And they're not even in alignment with what you truly desire. And what's going to happen? You're not going to feel into it. You're not going to align with it, and then you're gonna have to redo it anyway.
And then my head, when you said that, I'm like, rework. That is like my biggest pet peeve. Like, you can ask Zach, my fiance. So I like hate rework. I hate redoing things. It's just in my head, it's like we wasted time. Now we wasted money, and nobody wants that. So it's like getting super clear before, like you said, doing and going down all those paths because then it's just, and now some of it is, you know, you get clarity through going through some mistakes, but why do that when you can skip the mistake and all that with you?
Yeah,
They
and
just
the
they
other
jump
thing
at
too is that, yeah, and recently, you know, I finally got on board with human design, and I had this giant download that dream design, which I always thought was just like, oh, it's soul vision and it's looking at, but like the word design
you.
is in there, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I had this download that dream design is a combination of soul vision and human design. So if your dreams are your mission, right? Like your dreams, the things that are on your heart to create in this world, they're there for a reason. They're there
Right.
because you're meant to create wholeness in the world. And those things are the manifestations of the desires of God, source, higher power through you. So those things that you want, they're not frivolous. They're not silly things that are like, oh, you know, like you're just a dreamer. Those things are on your heart because that's to incentivize you to do them, because the universe wants those things done. So that's the soul vision piece, right? The mission. We all come here with this veil of ignorance of like, wait, what was I doing? How many times have you left a room and you're like, wait, what was I doing? What was I supposed to be doing? Right? And like,
Yes,
this
all
is
the
like,
time.
yeah. And
Mom.
that's literally what happens when we come to Earth. You know, we have this whole plan of all of what we're going to do. And we get here and then we're like, wait, what was I going in here for? And so I'm kind of here to catch you and be like, hey, here's why you're here. Let's go look at your human design and let's get all the juicy details, because you came with a manual, right? Like
Yeah.
literally how you're supposed to move through your life is literally in your chart. So soul vision, which is the dream side, and then human design is the method. So your dreams are your mission,
Mhm.
your design is the method. And I was just like, okay, universe, blow my mind again, baby. Like, it was amazing.
And one thing I should point out to anyone watching live or watching the replay is when I first saw one of your trainings in Chrissy's group, what blew my mind with that was not only the human design piece and like, I guess, quote unquote, the woo, but Amy Lee also pulls in the like the science and the actual, I don't know what you call it for the brain, like the actual
Neuroscience.
science behind the neuroscience behind it. Yeah. Of See, there goes my brain because I'm like, I forget what I'm
Okay,
talking
I have
about, or
5 of those,
my
so
mom brain
I
kicks
get it.
in. of that. And that's what really drew me in and was like, oh, this is amazing. Like I want to share this with more people because it's not just, as some people would say, woo, it is not woo, but you know, it's the spiritual, the vision, the intangible, and then the actual your body science as well. It's not just intangibles.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, quantum physics has proven this time and time again that what we identify in our field, what we observe is what collapses all of the possibilities of what could happen. So there's millions of different possibilities at any time of how something could go. And when we observe one of them, be it through visualization or meditation or what have you, scripting, all those things, we are collapsing all the other possibilities to make that the one true possibility that could happen. And so when you get really clear on what you want and you start mentally rehearsing it as if it already happened, you're basically, like I said, you're telling the universe, hey baby, I need you to go to the store. Here's the shopping list. Here's what aisle it's in. Here's how to get it. Here's what I want. Oh, and if they don't have that, just get me something better. And the universe is like, done and done. See you later. Be back in an hour. And the only reason that things don't happen faster than that is because we don't believe they can. So I always say, you know, the universe is the great prover. It only shows you what you believe to be true. So what do you believe? So we are in 100% control of our beliefs. 1,000,000%. We get to change our beliefs as often as we want to. And what people are starting to realize, and what society hasn't done a good job of explaining, because they don't want you to know this, right? In fact, when Think and Grow Rich came out, when Napoleon Hill wrote that, Henry Ford actually tried to get it banned because he didn't want people to read it and leave the assembly lines. True story.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so there's a very real desire to suppress this information because there are people that believe if people knew how powerful they were to create their own reality, if people knew how much they could change their lives with their thoughts, with their beliefs, with their affirmations, with their feelings, they would no longer be subservient to other people. Now, the sad part of this is that if those people at the top who think this, if they realized how it truly works and how abundance is, they wouldn't even necessarily need that power. But you will find there, and I know I'm going on a crazy tangent, but there are two different factions. There are the factions that are in pursuit of love, and there are those that are in pursuit of power. So we call that the service to self path and the service to others path, service to self path and the service to others path. The service to self path is in pursuit of power. How can I be the best? How can I put people down and hurt people in order to get into that number one position? We could even call it evil, but it's really just a polarity, right? Like it's just a yes or a no. It's an O or a 1, right? So that's the service to self path. The service to others path is in pursuit of love. So all of us are out here wanting to create these beautiful lives and in pursuit of love. And there is a small few who are on the path of service to self. They're on the path of, I don't really care about love and joy. I just want to be the best. I just want to own everything. And luckily, you know, time will pass and those people, those entities, whatever, will graduate into the service to love. They have to. That's where it goes. But that's why you see that dichotomy and that evil in the world, because it really comes down to the value system, right? Like you and me, we would never, I mean, I can't step on an ant. Like it would break my heart. But we're very different side of the spectrum than the people that are like, oh, human trafficking makes me an extra $1 billion a day. Done. Get me some babies, you know?
Right. Exactly. And I think that also to bring it back to somebody, if someone's watching, like your values and your, even within those spectrums of themselves, like in the good, like where you said the good side of it, everyone's values and everyone's goals are going to be different. It doesn't all have to be the multi 6-figure year. It doesn't have to be the big giant house. Like now you see people in van life and tiny homes. Like it's okay. And some people just need to hear that. Like it's okay to want what you want. it like, and that was a big thing for me for a long time was, oh my God, how can my life be like this? And it was like, I had to tell myself, it's okay that you had a kid before marriage. It's okay that you're going on a different path. And it's okay that you had a kid before all of your friends. You know, like we're so caught up in the story that society tells, like you said before, of this is what my life should look like. But no, what is it that your life could be with like with what's in your heart and what's in your mind of what am I called to do for me? And there's
Exactly.
a spectrum within that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all about the spectrums. Absolutely. There really are no absolutes. I mean, there's polarity for sure, but there's no right or wrong, and there's really no good and bad. There's just
Mhm.
polarity. And when we recognize that and we detach from the good and bad and recognize that there's just differences, but also consider, I mean, we're going to go way, way into philosophy here. Whatever created us was this one entity, right? And the
Mhm.
only way to experience, to receive joy, love, hate, all the things, to receive anything at all, was to have something to receive from. Therefore, the first
Yep.
thing that had to happen was that thing had to become itself and not itself, or AKA had to break off a piece of it, right? In
Mhm.
doing that, there was now a this and a that, a light and a dark, a here and a there, a me and a you. And that created polarity. So we look around at the world, we look at the people that don't agree, we look at the people that really don't agree right now after what happened the other day, and we see all this infighting again. But when we accept the fact that literally until we go back to consciousness, to that one ball again, whenever we come back to wholeness, the last thing that's going to happen is the disillusion of polarity. That's sticking around forever. So we need to
Mhm.
learn how to live with it. We need to
Right.
accept that there are always going to be people that disagree with you. There are always going to be people that think that you're crazy, that think that you're, like you said, people that judge you for having a child before marriage. I got pregnant before I should tell you that story sometime, but I got pregnant before I got married. I
Yep.
mean, and I say that just so you don't think I'm on that judging side, but, but all of that, we get to just detach from. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so when we think about like, how can and I was going to write a post about this today, but then I didn't get a chance to, but like, how do I curate my container? Like if I was to
Right.
say to you, hey, Emma, did you hear that in Australia today, like a giant wildlife preserve of monkeys all died? Like 200,000 monkeys were burned alive. You'd be like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. And your little heart would feel bad for the monkeys, right? That
Right.
didn't really happen. But until I tell you that that happens, that doesn't even enter your consciousness.
Right.
So for your purposes, that doesn't exist. It's not,
Yes, exactly.
it's not real. So when we curate our container, that's when we can start to really see the things that we want to create happen for us, because we are the ones who are deciding what goes in and what stays out. And if we don't think about it and we're not conscious of it, well, then it doesn't really exist.
Right. Oh, this is so good. Yes. Two, even like when this also in the tangible of goal planning, which we've talked about. Amy Lee and I are both work with sales coach Michelle, and I've done this with other clients is, what if you don't have your main goals or your main, idea that you want to focus on and chase after, you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall. You're just
Right.
like, you wake up and you have no plan, you have no structure, and then it's like you have nothing to work towards in
Mhm.
that sense, because it's just, okay, I'm going to do this, but you need it clearly drawn out for you. And like with that example too, many people, if it's not right in front of them, it's not even entering their conscious, and I think, not to even complicate it, but I think it is with people with ADHD or some type of thing, that is even worse for them.
Oh,
Like,
it's so hard for us. We're like, I mean, you hear me on those calls. I literally, when you were doing that thing, that ClickUp thing, I had to like bring a buddy to like absorb the information because I couldn't even, yeah.
well, I'm that way with people. Like if you're not on my radar, and I'm like a terrible friend when it comes to this. It's like if I don't see anything about it, like I won't think to reach out or call or text or like be like, it has to be in front of mine, because if it's not in my radar or my visual, it's out of my consciousness. And which is not terrible. It's not like I don't love those people. It's just
Yeah.
if I don't see it, I don't see it kind of thing. But with people, and they just let their dreams on the back burner.
Or they just
If it's
don't
not,
even bother to really parse them out. Like, what does it actually look like? And again, going back to the ADD example, because I love that, we're not good with multi-step processes. Like, for the longest time, I had so many invoices pile up because I had to log into PayPal. I had to click the invoice button. I had to write up whatever it was, and then I had to send it. And heaven forbid, I had to find the person's email too. And it was just too many steps. So I didn't do, I mean, literally, like, to pay myself was too many steps. Now, luckily, I have Kajabi now, and all they do is click a button and it pays me, and it's great. But if I still had to do it the other way, I would probably have a foreclosed house, because it's just too many steps. And so dream design, if you're just trying to think, okay, what do I really want? And you're just looking at it as like, well, I got to pick a bunch of stuff, you know, you're not going to pick things that are in alignment with what you truly desire, or you're just going to go, I can't do this. How many times, oh my gosh, tell me this, Emma, how many times has somebody sent you like a questionnaire to fill out? Like, I remember my web designer, she's like, here, just fill out this questionnaire. And it's like the design, like, what are your favorite this? What if you were an animal, if you were the mall, like all the, and it's just like 50 questions. And I'm like, I would rather get a root canal than answer these. Like, it's just too much, you know?
and I feel, and I'm on the opposite of that, because I'm the one who's like, I need the questionnaire to do the pre-work with my clients. But that brings up a good point of, you know, some people, their brain operates differently of, you know, give them the option to maybe send it to you via Loom. Like you said, you could talk all day, but you don't want to sit there and type everything out question by question. Just,
Well, it's
you
more
know,
than it's all at once. Like, if you were like,
yeah,
okay, you've got a week, I want you to do questions 1 through 3 by, you know, day 3. And then, you know, like, if you broke it down, like, I could definitely do that. But just looking at that big long thing, I'm like, oh, heck no, this is not happening. Sorry. Thanks for playing.
Thanks for, yes, you need like a deadline for each step. It becomes way too overwhelming.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I want to draw back into, you have put out an assessment. I want to talk about your assessment, because I downloaded it and it was so fun to go through and see like the personalities since you created the dream design. Can you talk a little bit about the assessment and how you kind of put it together for people?
Yeah,
And
we actually just turned it into a quiz. So it's a
yeah.
quiz. Yeah, so we still have the assessment, and I still have that, but we do have the quiz, and the quiz is awesome. But basically, I created 4 different archetypes of, see, the thing is, one of the ways that you have to start, well, that you can start doing the dream design work is to tap into like what your dream day looks like. When you start shifting into the identity of the person that you want to be, like, you have to think about how their life is. So one of the things that this does is it takes 4 different potential archetypes and has you walk through the scripts of each one. And then as you walk through each of these scripts, you decide which one you resonate most with. And then there are some questions to answer, or kind of some steps to take in order to help you align more with that identity. So we took that assessment and then we turned it into questions. And then we took the questions and created the quiz.
I love that. I thought the assessment was so fun, but I'm glad you have it in a quiz now, because then it's easier probably for people to go through step by step and just
not feel like, oh my gosh, I have to read 4 pages.
Yes, yes. And I feel like people are way more into the whole, I love the whole quiz funnel idea. I tried to get one up, but it was very difficult for me to like put my people into categories sometimes with the bit. So I love the quiz funnel idea. I think it's great because people love quizzes and they love a quick little answer and a quick little win. And then your assessment has even further details of their type, like you mentioned. So I will link that in the comments after the live for everyone. And it'll also be in the email. If you're on my email list, I send out the recaps into my email list. So we'll have that link in there for everybody as well. So check it out. I think it's worth like just seeing, okay, what is this all about? How do I get started in dream design? What does it look like? What is my personality type? Not really personality type, but your archetype,
A
as you
little
call it.
bit, a little bit. It's definitely, there's pieces of personality in there for sure.
Yeah. Um, Is there any, I don't want to keep you too long because I know that these are also best kept short and sweet. And I feel like we covered a ton in this 30 minutes.
We
Is
really
there
did.
any,
I think I channeled a couple of things because I don't even remember some of the things that I said.
we went down some rabbit holes and some
We did.
philosophy, but I think it was all very important, especially for understanding dream design for anyone who's new, if you've never heard of this before, if you've never kind of went through, obviously, because you've created it, like you said. So it is probably new to a lot of people.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I think aspects of it they'll recognize from other coaches. There's people that have done manifestation and visualization and those kind of things, and quantum manifestation. That stuff's definitely. I mean, I don't. And the other thing too, Emma, I just want to say this real quick because this is really important to me. I
of
don't
course.
lay claim to any of my information. Like, I try really hard to detach my ego from the work I do. I'm here. I am a conduit of the universe. I am here on behalf of the, God, source, higher power in order to help people find out what they're supposed to do. But I don't need to own
Love that.
that. I don't.
I love that, the way you worded that, of
Yeah,
like,
I
I
don't
am
I don't need to be the best. Like, I was kidding around that, earlier. I was like, I am the dream design coach, but more than anything, this information belongs to everybody. Now, me taking the time to hold somebody accountable, to offer them perspective, to educate them, yeah, that I'll
Mhm.
charge for all day. But the information itself, most of it is readily available in my Facebook group. Like,
Exactly.
it's not anything that, and I don't own it, right? So yes, in a sense, I have curated it in a different way for the first time, but
Yes.
I've curated the information that everybody is entitled to.
But I also think I would love to call attention to, I think that's amazing the way in how you've done it is also just such a great way to differentiate yourself for like the market, just CEO to CEO of like the way you can market yourself there. And it is bringing a lot of things together and combining them in a way that is going to help someone really take all those pieces that are currently maybe they've done on their own. Like you mentioned, you finally brought in human design and the neuroscience of it all. It's really streamlining it for them, which is so, so valuable to everyone.
Thank you.
I admire the way you've differentiated yourself in the market and the way you help people and your just overall approach to serve others. And like Amy Lee said, if you're really interested, her Facebook group has a lot of this valuable information. Also her email list because I am in and on both. It's always good info to just keep learning and understanding about, what it is that you're really called to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Emma.
Of course, I'm so glad you can come because I know you were live just a little bit before this. I saw the notification on Facebook. So thank you for taking time and sharing with everyone. If you guys are watching live or watching the replay, feel free to drop in questions in the comments if you had any. I didn't see any pop up as we were talking. Or if you are looking for a specific resource, I am happy to point you guys in that direction. Or leave a comment about what you like the best with what Amy Lee shared. So thank you so much, Amy Lee.
Absolutely, Emma. Bye.
Bye.